22 people dead, including 19 children.
This only happens in this country.
Because of an awful scene playing out today in Texas.
We will no doubt learn much more about this young man and his motives.
The deadliest mass shooting in Texas. 22 deaths, 18 injured. A devastating blow to the US. This shooting occurred a mere 10 days after the Buffalo massacre. There's so much wrong with the story, it's mind-boggling. Salvador Rolando Ramos was a student at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, and he was having it rough. His parents were divorced. His mom, Adriana Reyes, was a drug user and was dating a new man while his father had moved to another city. The boy had a stutter and a strong lisp, an easy target. He would get bullied hard, like bullied by a lot of people, over social media, over gaming, over everything. But Salvador fought back. He used to carry boxing gloves with him. When fist fighting, which was often, he'd put on the gloves to give his punches more weight. He had too few friends to rely on the help of others. Those that did hang out with him grew distant because Salvador was undergoing a weird transformation. Santos Valdez Jr., his old friend, recalled how Salvador showed up with cuts all over his face one day. The attitude spread beyond the school. Salvador worked at Wendy's and would verbally attack his co-workers. "Do you know who I am?" he'd snap at them. Sometimes he went as far as to text his female colleagues threatening, inappropriate messages. Long-haired, aggressive, wearing all black, he quickly earned a number of nicknames. School Shooter was one of them. Salvador's life was effectively falling apart. He used to quarrel with his mother Adriana. "I had an uneasy feeling sometimes, like, what are you up to?" Reyes told ABC News. He can be aggressive if he got really mad. Eventually, he moved to his grandmother's place. Salvador began skipping classes. Quickly, it got completely out of hand, and he dropped out just months before finishing. He wasn't very much of a social person after being bullied for the stutter. "I think he just didn't feel comfortable anymore at school," said his cousin Mia. Still, the hostility wasn't all coming from the outside. Salvador was known to provoke people, to lash out at his own friends, and sometimes he'd attack total strangers. He'd go to a park and pick on people just to start a fight. If that wasn't enough, he was resorting to animal torture and posting the videos on the streaming platform Yubo. He used the same platform to unleash threats at fellow users. Hannah, his peer and a Yubo user, had to report Salvador's account after he threatened to sexually assault her and shoot up her school. In the meantime, Salvador became more and more infatuated with guns. It began with him driving at night with a friend, egging cars, and shooting at random people with a BB gun. In September 2021, he asked his sister to buy him a gun, but she flatly refused. Salvador didn't let up. He started posting photos of automatic rifles on his social media, calling it his wish list. On May 17, 2022, a day after his 18th birthday, Salvador purchased a semi-automatic rifle, and then, just 3 days later, another rifle, this time an AR-15. His record was clean, and the sellers had no knowledge of what person comes into the possession of weaponry. Nothing new, just another 18-year-old buying an assault rifle. Immediately, Salvador started boasting about the purchases on his social media. All this angry, sadistic teen needed was just a little push. It came on May 24, 2022, with his grandma scolding him over the phone bill. She was making a call to AT&T when Salvador shot her in the head. "I'm gonna go shoot up an elementary school right now," he texted a friend just 5 minutes later. That was at 11:21 a.m. Salvador donned a tactical vest for carrying ammunition, grabbed his rifles, hopped into his grandma's Ford, drove to Robb Elementary School, and crashed through the fence. 11 minutes later, the police received a distress call from the school. There was an active shooter on the premise.
When he went in the classroom, he said, "You're all gonna die," and he just started shooting.
Salvador fired 315 rounds, killing 2 teachers and 19 students. The hostages had to wait a full 77 terrifying minutes before the rescue. The children were in their 3rd and 4th grades. It's unclear why Ramos chose to kill the small kids aged from 9 to 11 instead of his peers, whom he hated so much. Obviously, he didn't care who died. He locked the steel classroom door and proceeded to shoot the innocents. 11-year-old Mia Cirillo had to smear herself in the blood of a slain classmate to escape sure death. She lay down and tried not to move. The wait for the rescue was so excruciating, she thought 3 hours had passed before the law enforcement officers finally took action. Outside, it was pure chaos. The parents started arriving. They demanded the police move in and save their children. Some of them had to be restrained with handcuffs. Pepper sprays and tasers were used. Angeli Gomez, a farmer, was one of the handcuffed parents. As soon as she was released, she rushed to her children's rescue.
Jumped that first gate fence, and once I jumped it, I went to my son's class, and I knocked on the door, and I remember the teacher saying, I'm like, hey, they're already bolt cutting the fence to get me. She's like, you think we have time to get out? I said, y'all have time, I'm gonna run for my other son.
Angeli was able to get both of her kids out. The brave mother thinks the police could have saved many more lives if only they had acted faster. And there was a reason for the stall. UCISD's police chief Pedro Arredondo was the incident commander. It was he who erroneously assessed the situation, transitioned from an active shooter to a barricaded subject. The active shooter scenario presupposes the police eliminating the shooter as soon as possible to avoid further casualties. In the barricaded subject situation, the person is behind cover and isn't hurting anybody. It's all about buying time until the SWAT team arrives. The police were receiving multiple distress calls from within the school. One of the victims was 10-year-old Amarie Jo Garza. She died trying to call 911. A scout, she did all she could to protect her classmates. At the same time, 19 police officers stood in the hallway, just outside the room with the shooter, while children and teachers from other classrooms were being evacuated through the windows. At 12:10, a group of Deputy U.S. Marshals arrives at the school. 5 minutes later, they are joined by a Border Patrol tactical unit. Do not go in, Chief Arredondo repeated the order over and over. Finally, frustrated federal agents called their superiors and asked for permission to take action. A BORTAC agent unlocked the steel classroom door with a master key. Taking cover behind a tactical shield, he entered the classroom with his colleagues following close. Salvador Ramos jumped out of the closet and opened fire, wounding a Border Patrol agent. After a brief fire exchange, Ramos dropped to the floor. He was dead. With so much death, it had seemed that it was over, but the shooting had to claim one more victim. Irma Garcia was the first teacher to be shot dead. In a month, she and her husband Joe were to celebrate their 25th wedding anniversary. Joe died of a heart attack 2 days after the shooting, leaving their 4 children orphaned. The last thing my Uncle Joe did was leave flowers at my Tia Irma's memorial, and not even an hour later passed. Truly one of the most heartbreaking stories ever. This photo was captured during his last moments, leaving those flowers. School security in Uvalde was considerably upgraded in the past few years, but it didn't help. In March 2022, just 2 months before the tragedy, an active shooter scenario training exercise was conducted. Training materials stated, "Time is the #1 enemy during active shooter response. The best hope that innocent victims have is that officers immediately move into action to isolate, distract, or neutralize the threat, even if that means one officer acting alone." It was also stressed that the first responder unwilling to place the lives of the innocent above their own safety should consider another career field. Despite all this, the police failed miserably. But there is another thing to consider. How was a dangerous teen allowed to purchase a deadly weapon like an AR-15? The same rifle used in multiple previous shootings, including the one in Buffalo. The grief-stricken Uvalde community and the whole US nation rose up, demanding to change the gun laws. Congress needs to pass universal background checks, ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, and confirm Steve Dettelbach as head of the ATF. It's time to turn this pain into action. President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden visited Uvalde to pay their respects at a makeshift memorial outside the school. Just as they were leaving, the Uvalde citizens began chanting, delivering a strong message. And President Biden pledged to do just that. On the other hand, quite a different take on the problem comes from people like ex-President Donald Trump, who attended the National Rifle Association annual convention in Houston on May 27. Trump's suggestions included tightening school security throughout the country and that the teachers should carry a concealed gun. After all, many people see the possible changes to the gun laws as an attack on their freedom.
Every time a disturbed or demented person commits such a hideous crime, there's always a grotesque effort by some in our society to use the suffering of others to advance their own extreme political agenda.
Indeed, most convention attendees believe that guns don't kill people, people kill people. Despite this resistance, the Senate is discussing new gun safety legislation, putting stress on red flag warnings, mental health resources, more funding for school security, expanding background checks, and raising the legal age to buy any sort of firearm. Will the new laws truly make a positive change? What will it take for the mass shootings to stop? And finally, will those responsible for the delay in rescuing the Robb Elementary School children be brought to justice? Will this pain turn into action?